A lot of small local landlords are selling out to big investors after the eviction moratorium took their income away for 18 months. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's really going over what the effect was when landlords didn't get paid for up to 18 months while the eviction moratorium was going on. Now, it's over now, but the effects are long lasting, and a lot of these small landlords are just going to get completely out of the business, sell their properties off to these big corporate investors, and it's going to be a completely different game going into the future. But before I get into that article, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you want to see on this channel. I'm going to work to keep bringing you articles about the eviction moratorium and other news that's of interest to landlords. So, this article that comes from Reuters.com, and it says, "Selling out, America's local landlords, moving in, big investors." Beset by COVID-19 and its fallout, local landlords are offloading their properties to cash-rich institutional investors, and America's real estate market may never be the same. Before the pandemic, boyhood friends Michael Morano and Richard Tyson owned 96 rental units in their hometown of Rochester, New York. They offered accommodation to low-income tenants, many in the service industry, from rooming houses to single-family starter homes. Today, they're well on their way to liquidating the entire portfolio. 2/3 of the units are already gone. The buyers, large investors with all cash offers. Yeah, a lot of landlords are just getting completely out of the business, okay? There are so many things going on right now, including the fact that prices have skyrocketed that mean that, you know what, a lot of us, we just don't want to deal with it. And so these guys, they're just selling. They're finally cashing in. And that's why you buy all these houses, so that eventually one day, you can actually make good money off of them. Now, the fact that they're selling to big corporate investors, that doesn't really mean much. I mean, they were a pretty big investor themselves, owning 96 units. But, if they're selling to all, people offering all cash and corporations that are, far out of state, there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing, okay? The tenants are the ones who are going to be suffering overall, because when these new investors come in, they're going to be looking for top dollar for rents. They're going to be making lots of renovations, and housing is going to be less affordable. So, from the investor side, from the landlord side, this is a good thing. From the tenant side, not so good. "It broke my heart to sell 15 single-family homes to just one out-of-state big corporate investor," said Tyson, a 38-year-old U.S. Navy veteran. "The last thing we need is to be exporting wealth out of this community and limiting wealth creation here. But I knew we had to get the hell out of affordable housing fast, because this was going to be a tidal wave coming at us. Many of America's landlords have gone a year and a half without being paid by tenants who've been protected by several state and local eviction moratorium, as well as an umbrella federal ban enacted 11 months ago." Yeah, that's exactly why a lot of people are just trying to get out of the business, okay? So if they hadn't put this eviction moratorium in place and these landlords had still been able to remove these non-paying tenants, then they wouldn't have suffered such financial losses and they wouldn't be selling, okay? So I'm sure a lot of landlords still are going to be selling, just because so much money would come into the market, and interest rates were so low that there were just a huge number of people looking to buy houses. So if you own a lot of houses, you're looking to sell at least some of them, because you're going to cash in on these purchases that you made years ago. I even sold 2 properties last year, okay? And I made $400,000 off of it in profit, because the prices had shot up so much. It's absolutely crazy to think that you can just, double your money in 5 years, but that's exactly what happened to me even. So I don't blame these landlords for selling right now, especially if they weren't getting paid for so long. "The owners have been waiting for $46 billion to help them survive without the income. The funds were approved by Congress months ago, but bureaucracy creaks. Only $3 billion has reached them so far, according to U.S. Treasury Department data. Now the eviction ban is about to end on Saturday. Well, it's over. Yesterday was Saturday. Yet thousands of local landlords have already quit the business, and a growing number, like Tyson and Morano, are on their way out. Taking their place, institutional investors, broadly defined in the industry as firms owning more than 1,000 units. These bigger players have bulk bought properties during the pandemic, according to industry data and Reuters interviews with more than 36 landlords, real estate brokers, landlord associations, and property acquisition firms in major cities. Yeah, these big investors, they're coming in, okay? Now, I don't know how many, if they're going out and they're buying from a lot of small landlords, just little tiny packages or not, but it doesn't really matter who the buyers are. The fact is landlords are selling. They got to get out of this business. If they want to cash in, or if they suffer significant losses, they just have to get out. Such investors and their advocates say they provide long-term stability to the market at a time of upheaval and are trying to fill the gap in rental properties needed by Americans, as many small landlords are exiting in financial trouble. Yet many housing campaigners say the growing presence of big investors in the market will inevitably mean higher rents and less affordable housing available to the types of tenants whose health and incomes have been hit hardest by the pandemic. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, okay? This is a bad thing for tenants. I mean, it is making housing a lot less affordable. It's not a bad thing for tenants. It's just that these landlords, when they come in, they charge higher rents than the small mom and pop landlords, okay? The small mom and pop landlords oftentimes are much more willing to work with people. They're much more loose with their rules, and they provide a lot of the lower income housing to the people who need it. So when a big investor comes in, they're looking for top dollar. They're looking at the bottom line. I wish all small landlords would do the same, but they don't. And a lot of times they're actually hurting themselves by not doing that, and you could see that by just looking at the effects of the eviction moratorium. Okay, so they had bad tenants in their properties because they were trying to help people out, and these people ended up not being able to pay. But with proper tenant screening and with proper procedures in place, and proper cash reserves, etc. So basically, if they ran themselves like these larger corporations, there would have been a lot less issues with the eviction moratorium throughout the country. So that's why I encourage all landlords, hey, treat this like a business. This isn't a thing that you're doing for fun. Even if you own just one property, okay, make sure all your numbers are right. Make sure that you have enough cash in reserves to actually cover lapse in rent for a few months at least, okay? Make sure you have enough to cover major repairs. Always calculate all your expenses. I mean, this is a business, and a lot of landlords, smaller ones, don't treat it as such, and then they ended up really, really having difficulty during the eviction moratorium, and now they're selling to these big investors who are coming in, they're treating it as a business, they're charging higher rents, and the results they speak for themselves, okay? A lot of people are going to have trouble after everything affording housing, and that's unfortunate.